I hope you enjoy my stories. Instead of just clicking thumbs down, please comment and share how we can do better. If you do like our video, then please like and subscribe.
Beaverton, Oregon, in a suburban enclave just south of Aloha, Beaverton, a group of homeowners finds themselves embroiled in a fierce dispute with their Homeowners Association, facing hefty fines and what they describe as an unyielding grip on power. The Cooper Mountain Estates HOA, comprising approximately 33 families, once operated smoothly for over a decade. However, tensions escalated dramatically when new leadership assumed control of the three-person HOA board last year, leaving residents like Sam Sheikh and his wife in a whirlwind of bureaucratic battles. Sheikh, a homeowner since 2008, who recently transitioned to renting out his property to a retired military member and their family, found himself slapped with fines, totaling a staggering $10,150, a sum that continues to climb. The saga began innocuously enough, with allegations that Sheikh's tenant was running a woodworking business out of the garage, breaching HOA regulations.
"We said this is not habitation, this is occasional.
This is a woodworking hobby. We don't believe that we're in any violation," Sheikh recounted. But the fines didn't stop there. The HOA board extended its reach to penalize residents for seemingly benign infractions, such as having family members, like parents-in-law, reside with them.
Families faced a $300 weekly fine for what the board deemed as multi-family dwellings.
The punitive measures didn't just stop at financial penalties.
Residents alleged that the HOA board demanded invasive personal information, including names, vehicle details, and license plate numbers, under the guise of enforcing regulations.
For Sheikh and others, this invasive scrutiny bordered on humiliation.
Efforts to challenge the authority of the HOA board proved futile, as residents attempted to oust the board president from power.
However, their hopes were dashed when, within a day of the attempt, the board swiftly altered the neighborhood's bylaws, effectively cementing their grip on power and making removal nearly impossible. Homeowners associations, often likened to quasi-governmental bodies, wield significant authority over residents, collecting dues and enforcing regulations.
However, unlike elected officials in governmental bodies, HOA boards operate with far less oversight, leading to instances of perceived abuse of power.
As residents of Cooper Mountain Estates grapple with exorbitant fines and what they perceive as a power-hungry HOA board, the broader conversation surrounding the accountability and transparency of such organizations gains renewed urgency. For now, Sheikh and his neighbors remain locked in a battle for their rights and financial well-being, navigating a landscape where the rules seem to favor those in power. As tensions mount within the Cooper Mountain Estates community in Beaverton, Oregon, residents grapple with the ramifications of their ongoing clash with the Homeowners Association board. Several homeowners, speaking anonymously to KGW, disclosed that they had been forced to leave the neighborhood due to the burden of substantial fines imposed by the HOA. Others, wary of potential retaliation, declined to appear on camera as they pursued negotiations to mitigate or eliminate their fines.
Sam Sheikh, a long-standing resident, voiced concerns over what he perceives as unjust targeting by the HOA. He described feeling singled out, alongside other families, and expressed frustration with what he views as unreasonable penalties.
The conflict escalated on October 17 when a group of homeowners submitted a formal request to convene a special meeting aimed at removing the HOA board president. Citing compliance with HOA bylaws, the group claimed to represent over 25% of the necessary votes for such action. However, their efforts were swiftly countered the following day when Board President Martin Anderson called an impromptu special meeting. According to minutes from the October 18 gathering, Anderson, along with another board member, pushed through amendments to the bylaws, significantly raising the thresholds required for homeowners to initiate similar actions in the future. In a move that further fueled resident frustration, Anderson rejected the homeowners' request for a special meeting, citing technicalities related to adherence to prior bylaws. Sheikh contended that the rejection was based on procedural grounds exacerbated by the abrupt implementation of the amended bylaws. Despite repeated requests for comment from KGW, Anderson declined to provide an on-camera interview and ceased communication with the news outlet.
A letter dated September 17 from the HOA Board of Directors outlined recent changes, including the termination of the previous management company, adoption of stricter enforcement standards, and requests for timely due payments and reports of neighborhood violations.
As tensions continue to simmer, residents of Cooper Mountain Estates find themselves embroiled in a bitter dispute over governance and accountability, with the future direction of their community hanging in the balance. In a recent incident in Beaverton, a dispute between a homeowner and their homeowner association has brought attention to the lack of oversight concerning such organizations and the implications for residents' rights. The issue arose when the HOA cited a resident Sheikh for allegedly using his garage for automobile repairs, which they claimed involved habitation of the space during repairs. Sheikh vehemently denies these accusations, stating the ordeal has become exhaustive and has significantly impacted his quality of life.
The situation escalated when Sheikh's tenants, feeling harassed by the HOA's actions, chose to move out. In a message shared with the board, they expressed their discomfort and dissatisfaction, attributing their decision to the alleged harassment and discrimination they experienced. Sheikh's experience has brought to light a perceived lack of oversight over HOAs.
He criticized the system, suggesting it could be easily abused when in the wrong hands. HOAs, operating largely unregulated, leave residents to navigate conflicts independently, with governmental agencies viewing disputes as private matters. Legal expert Kevin Harker provided insights into the challenges facing homeowners in such disputes.
While acknowledging the good intentions of most HOA board members, he highlighted the limited avenues for intervention.
Governmental bodies lack the authority to intervene directly, leaving civil lawsuits as the final recourse, a costly and emotionally draining option. The reluctance of governmental bodies like Washington County and the city of Beaverton to intervene further underscores the complexity of HOA disputes. Despite declining on-camera interviews, they have hinted at a reluctance to intervene unless public safety is at risk.
In response to these challenges, Harker advised homeowners to familiarize themselves with HOA regulations, participate in board activities, and seek amicable resolutions to disputes.
He emphasized the importance of mediation over litigation, recognizing its strain on community relations. The prevalence of HOA-governed properties across the nation, as highlighted by the U.S. Census Bureau, underscores the significance of addressing these issues. Sheikh's ordeal serves as a warning, prompting reflection on the balance between HOA regulations and residents' rights in communities nationwide.
We're at a loss for where to seek assistance, besides resorting to legal counsel, to aid in our defense, he expressed.
What was once a sense of community has devolved into an adversarial us versus them dynamic.
In a stunning turn of events, the tight-knit community of Green Valley Ranch in Denver has been rocked by an unprecedented wave of foreclosures, leaving dozens of families displaced and facing an uncertain future.
At the heart of this crisis is the Master Homeowners Association, which has emerged as the primary antagonist in this harrowing tale of loss and despair. According to chilling statistics provided by the Denver Department of Housing Stability, a staggering 50 out of 119 HOA-related foreclosures in 2021 originated from the Master Homeowners Association's relentless pursuit of homeowners. This alarming figure stands in stark contrast to the negligible foreclosure rates reported by other HOAs across the city, with none even coming close to the Master Homeowners Association's ruthless efficiency in seizing properties. Among those who have fallen victim to the Master Homeowners Association's ruthless tactics is Gil Gonzalez Ramos, a father of 4, who now finds himself grappling with the harsh reality of homelessness. Speaking exclusively to our correspondent, Ramos recounted his ordeal, shedding light on the series of events that led to the loss of his cherished family home. "I never imagined that I would lose my home in such a manner," Ramos lamented, his voice tinged with a mixture of anguish and disbelief. "To have it taken away from me like this, it's devastating." Ramos, who had been a homeowner in Green Valley Ranch for 17 years, found himself ensnared in a web of fines and penalties imposed by the Master Homeowners Association for what he describes as minor infractions.
Despite diligently meeting his mortgage obligations to Wells Fargo, Ramos fell behind on payments to the Master Homeowners Association after accruing fines totaling nearly $5,000 for infractions, ranging from unkempt lawns to misplaced trash cans.
"I take full responsibility for my actions," Ramos acknowledged, his expression weighed down by regret. "But I never imagined that failing to pay these fines would lead to the loss of my home." In a desperate bid to stave off foreclosure, Ramos sought assistance from Wells Fargo, only to be met with crushing disappointment. Despite his plea for intervention, the financial institution washed its hands of the matter, leaving Ramos and his family to fend for themselves in their hour of need. As the specter of foreclosure loomed large, Ramos's worst fears were realized when his home was sold off to an opportunistic investor.
Left with no recourse, Ramos and his family now faced the prospect of being cast out onto the streets, their dreams shattered, and their future uncertain.
Yet, amidst the turmoil and despair, Ramos remains resolute in his determination to reclaim what was unjustly taken from him.
With unwavering resolve, he vows to fight tooth and nail to salvage whatever remnants of his former life remain, clinging to the hope of restoring his shattered dreams. "I refuse to let this defeat me," Ramos declared, his voice trembling with defiance. "I will do whatever it takes to reclaim what is rightfully mine."
As the sun sets on another day in Green Valley Ranch, the echoes of despair resonate through its quiet streets, serving as a grim reminder of the unforgiving nature of fate. For Ramos and countless others like him, the road ahead may be fraught with hardship and uncertainty, but their spirit remains unbroken, a beacon of hope in the darkness of adversity. Now the neighborhood my mother's house is in had an HOA that was disbanded in the late 90s for the pretty stereotypical reasons: corrupt leaders, misappropriation of funds, etc.
I really don't have many details on it since I was very little when it went down. But my mother had apparently been openly aiming for a seat on the HOA council for years.
So she was really sore when the HOA was gone because she could no longer run for a position.
Fast forward to 2012. Evil Mama Bear had been trying to quote the old HOA covenants to the neighborhood for years and insisted that the rules and regulations set forth when the HOA was active should still be abided by.
Literally no one wanted to listen to her. So my mother started putting flyers around the neighborhood that detailed she was restarting the HOA without their approval and would be its first new president. The neighbors ended up in an uproar over this and showed up to her public meeting. And there she was verbally ripped to shreds, as nearly every single homeowner in the neighborhood not only denied their support of another HOA, but also made it clear to her what she was trying to do was not legal.
My mother was incensed by this.
And no surprise, she didn't even have my father's support.
Which was something she'd initially been counting on.
But he refused from the onset of her scheme.
And when the neighborhood all refused to recreate the HOA, Evil Mama Bear went off on my dad for not being supportive of her. After she gaslighted herself into nearly being out of breath, my dad told her she was just looking for a way to lord over the neighborhood, and he'd never support that.
She tried to argue with him some more, but he just ended the conversation and walked away.
Somehow, that still didn't stop my mother, though.
She went and contacted a sleazy lawyer about trying to get the HOA running again without the support of the residents.
Her hope was that there was some sort of law that could reactivate the HOA on different grounds. The lawyer went through all of the old HOA documents and state laws over a couple of days and told my mother there was nothing that could be done as it was not enforceable, and that without the consent and signed support of enough people in the neighborhood, there was no way to legally restart the HOA. Then proceeded to bill Evil Mama Bear.
Since my mother hired the sleazy lawyer herself under the table, she had to pay him. But she hated paying anyone for anything because she was so cheap.
Now, an important fact of note was that my dad hadn't trusted Evil Mama Bear with his money for years, no longer kept joint bank accounts with her.
And she had no way to access his money.
So she filed for a new credit card using his name and then used said credit card to pay the lawyer instead.
My dad noticed a new credit card statement in his name pretty fast and nearly filed for fraud when my mother came clean out of fear. He demanded she pay out the credit card and then have said card deactivated.
My mother didn't want to, but he threatened to call the fraud department of his bank on her.
I still remember hearing the argument where she tried to claim that he couldn't do that because they were married, and everything that was his was also hers. And that meant that she could do what she did and he'd still have to pay. Dad called bullshit on that and said he'd contest the charges and get the card removed from his name, which would have left my mother in serious legal trouble for fraud and debt collection. And so evil Mama Bear begrudgingly paid off the money owed. And my dad cut the card to little pieces with scissors. My mother had the money to pay the lawyer all along. She just preferred to keep her cash and put any expenses she could on my father. But he always stopped her, and she tried to pull the shared assets logic because they were married.
Though that ended when they divorced.
Evil Mama Bear still spent the next few years trying to quote the HOA covenants to neighbors.
But she was always dismissed or laughed at every single time she tried.
A few people started referring to her as President Wannabe. To this day, no HOA has formed in the neighborhood again. And even if one did, they'd never vote an evil Mama Bear.
I can only imagine what would happen if she tried to pull this crap in Texas after she moves there. Edit. I've had a few people messaging me that the lawyer I spoke of in the story that my mother went to wasn't sleazy just by association with my mother and just did what normal lawyers do. Well, he was known by reputation to overcharge people. And my own lawyer told me some time ago that he had first-hand experience with the sleazy lawyer because he knew him in person. The guy would intentionally take longer than needed to do anything so he could charge more time from clients. That among other shady things, he did bit him in the butt some years ago and he shut down his office.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.